Hi, this is just a little video of a couple of birch trees on a card, which you could make. I seriously overworked this card, but my sister said she liked it, so I decided to put the video up anyway. The first thing I did was just draw a couple of tree shapes. So I have a photograph that I've used many times over the years. It's a picture I really love of some birch trees, and I love the color in them. So what I do when I paint birch trees then is I tend to use a lot of color. I don't make white ones like most people do. They just paint white trees, but I see the color in them and I like to paint that, especially old kind of scruffy trees. So what I do is I start out with some burnt sienna, which is a color that I see in the trees, in birch trees, and then some blue, and then eventually I'm going to put a little bit of purple in too. So I'm going to mix up some red and blue to make a little bit of purple because I will add that in later on. And then the first thing I do is I draw a couple of lines um, on this side. I stick to one side and I make some shapes down the left side of the trees here, and then I'm going to try and wash that out a little bit, like pull them over, but this paper is really terrible and so it's not easy to do that. So I start here, I put some shapes down along the left side of the trees with burnt sienna on both trees, and then I add some blue in there. That's cobalt mixed in a little bit with ultramarine, but just a light wash. This paper is very hard. It's cardstock for making art cards, but it's very, very hard to work with. There's no body to it at all, this paper. So as you can see now, what I'm doing is trying to stretch that paint out a little bit, and it won't work because there is no body in that paper. So I'm going to end up, that's why it ends up being very overworked in the end, is because it won't, the paper um, just doesn't give anything at all. So here I'm trying to make a shadowy side on the left of the tree. Um, and then I will add a little bit of purple here and there, just for a little bit of variation. Purple's a lovely color to bring other colors out. Then what I try to do is to use now I tried to start here with a part of a credit card, but then I switched to a knife, a palette knife, to try to scrape out some of the paint. It's been very difficult on this paper to get any kind of variation. So like I can't wash the paint out from one side to the other at all. It just won't work. So with this credit card and the palette knife, I'm trying to create some shapes of the birch on the tree, like birch bark that's coming off. So once I've done that, I try to just pick up a little bit of the paint with a paper towel in the hope that I can vary it, have some light and dark areas in the bark. And as you can see, I already started there a little bit. I'm just coming in with some darker shapes to be the blisters on the tree. And try to darken up one side a bit more for a shadow side. Burnt sienna is such a beautiful color. It's my favorite. Burnt sienna and purple go really nicely together. So it's that secondary color scheme of orange and purple and green also. So there, in the end, I put a little tiny bit of green in this for a couple of leaves, which you will have seen from the photograph at the beginning. But basically what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to give some variation so that it's not just two sticks on a piece of paper. It's a couple of trees with a bit of character. So now what I'm doing is I'm just suggesting bits of birch bark hanging off the tree on the sides or at that's visible on the sides. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some branches. This is a very nice thing to do with a knife. So you have a kind of a loose puddle of dark paint and you scrape it with the knife. You could practice this on a piece of paper first. So you just kind of scrape it with, scrape the knife through the paint and then kind of just tap the end of it so the paint all goes to the tip, and then you use the tip to paint. Then after, what I've done is I've just added some little spots of water, and then I will add a bit of green paint in there just to suggest leaves. I'm not going to actually paint leaves, but I'm just suggesting leaves. And not very many because it's a pretty dead looking tree. And then I think after that I'm gonna probably that will be enough. I could put some orange leaves on there, but I'm not going to. Then what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try here, I try lifting out some lights to get, just to try to get some white bark in there, but I wasn't able to leave much, and I am not able to get it by, so what I'm trying to do is to use a water and a brush, an oil brush, to do some scrubbing, to scrub out some paint, but this paper is not workable, not like Arches. So I might try doing cards again on Arches paper, but what I'll do is I would just cut it to size and then, you know, paint on it. Arches paper is very forgiving. So I tried doing lifting. So these are various means that I'm using to try to lift out some paint. So I'm now just scraping with a razor blade to get some highlights. I also tried on this one, I also tried some sandpaper. So I tried everything to make this, make some lights in the birch image. And I wasn't able to do that, but, and the painting is seriously overworked. But it looks good anyway. So there you go. Here it is. A little video. So I'm going to try this again. I will try it with some better paper. This cardstock is bad. So for more lessons, try Amazon.com or Amazon.ca 15 step-by-step watercolor paint.